Once I make my move, the Queen will take me. Then you're free to check the King.
No. Ron, no!
What is it? He's going to sacrifice himself.
No, you can't! There must be another way.
Do you want to stop Snape from getting that stone or not? Harry, it's you that has to go on. I know it. Not me, not Hermione, you.
The alien mothership is in orbit here. If we can hit that bullseye, the rest of the dominoes will fall like a house of cards. Checkmate.
It's Brittany, bitch.
And Iraq, everywhere like such as.
We sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Out, Charlie! Out!
Our next door neighbors are foreign countries.
I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
Hey everybody, it's your Remember Shuffle. My name is Ben. With me as always is my co-host Giordano.
Hello.
And today we are joined by a good friend of mine, returning to Remember Shuffle for a second appearance since the Office episode. We are joined by Del. Say hi, Del.
Unshun, hello, Reshun.
Okay, so normally we start off the show by telling you the hook. And I'm just going to tell you right now, this is something a little bit different, something a little bit new. Giordano and I pride ourselves on doing lots of research before recording, and this is our first zero research episode. Giordano and I have not cracked a book. We have not read an article. We've not watched a documentary. I've skimmed a Wikipedia article looking for racism.
Really just anti-Semitism, right? I guess. Yeah. By a Jewish guy.
Yeah, it's a rare self-own. You just played yourself.
Yeah, if you're a new listener and you're giving us a tryout, maybe go to a different episode. If you're a real shovelhead, though, we're sorry that the new episode is late. Hopefully this can tide you over until we can get a more regular episode up. Ben and I right now are just kind of in the middle of preparing like 5 different episodes at once. And unfortunately, we're like 75% into all of them. And so we recorded this a long time ago. Figured, maybe one day we use it as a stopgap to bridge a period where we didn't have anything ready. So here you are. Enjoy. And if you're a new listener, maybe go listen to Spike TV or something. Something where we put a little bit more research into it. We watched 4 episodes of Deadliest Warrior at least.
So Del and I are both big chess heads. Del more than me. I refuse to learn the names of the squares. Everything I know about chess, I learned on the streets. I have a 700 ELO. Giordano, I know you're not a huge chess fan. What's your beef with this game of chess?
I don't like chess. All my friends like chess, but to me, it's all chance. It's luck. So why bother? It's just whoever happens to get white, I guess.
Well, white wins most of the time.
There you go.
Statistically.
I mean, at the top level, this is not untrue. A lot of players, when they're playing black, will be inclined to play for draws. So white does have a statistical advantage.
Listener, let me also give you a little peek behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
Giordano and I, we play it pretty anonymous. Let me show you a little bit about how the sausage gets made.
Mm-hmm.
All of us on this episode, we're coming fresh from a Russian bathhouse, right? We're all relaxed. We're chill. It's Super Bowl weekend. We've had a few drinks. I poured myself a straight Tito's vodka. And one of us has snorted a line of Adderall before recording this. So that is what has gone into our zero research episode on chess in the 2000s. But Del, our guest, has done lots and lots of research. And this entire episode about the 2000s and chess is his idea. So Del, sell the listener. Why are we doing this?
So Ben, Giordano, thank you for having me. If I were to ask you to pick one sporting event from the 2000s that best encapsulated the cultural and political zeitgeist of the decade, what might you say?
That's a tough one. The 90s kind of took everything, all the good sports.
I'd say, iconic is, of course, the wardrobe malfunction, the Janet Jackson tit. The NFL is just a runaway freight train of success until it gets banned for the concussions.
Yeah, true.
Or maybe if I were to get a little political with it, I might say the 2008 Olympics in China. China coming onto the world stage might be one.
I agree with football. You got the GOAT who's playing that decade.
Matt Stafford.
Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, so those are our champions, Dale. We're talking football or maybe the Olympics.
All right, these are all good answers. But what if I told you that the correct answer is the 2007 World Chess Championship tournament, in which Viswanathan Anand became the first undisputed Indian World Chess Champion?
I wouldn't believe you.
Sorry, this guy, I have a hard time with his name. Is there maybe some kind of moniker he goes by that would make it easier for me?
Oh, many things. Viswanathan Anand, a.k.a. Viswanathan, a.k.a. the Tiger of Madras, a.k.a. the Lightning Kid.
Damn, the Tiger of Madras.
Yeah, that rocks.
He's awesome. That's so much better than the Great One. Yeah, tell me why is this 2007 championship particularly important?
So it's really important because Anand, who had been a World Chess Champion between 2000 and 2002, became the first undisputed Indian World Chess Championship. Now, if you know anything about the chess world, you know that there are a lot of really excellent Indian players. In fact, 4 of the top 20 players are from India. This is a younger generation of really brilliant chess players. But this wasn't always the case. Anand in 1988 was the first Indian grandmaster, and so there's a relatively small group of chess players who are deemed the title grandmaster as sort of the best of the best. And he swept the chess world by storm, winning junior championships and national championships, and really revitalizing and creating a chess community in India for the first time. And so when he was able to win a world tournament in 2000, and this was a time when there were sort of 2 competing World Chess Champion titles, one organized by FIDE, which is sort of the main chess championship, and then is sort of an offshoot that Garry Kasparov created for a while. When these 2 were united, it created a real touch point where this rising star of an international sport, of really old and prestigious international sport, could be represented from the East. And it was a really interesting example of some of the social and political dynamics that are playing out that come into the chess world. So this is just one piece of it.
Yeah, the rise of India, one of the major geopolitical events of the past 20 years, as represented in the rise of Indian chess players. Yeah, let's just front load Anand then. Yes, so the Tiger of Madras was awarded India's second highest civilian honor. Not even the first. That's some real auntie shit right there. But Barack Obama visited India in 2010, and Manmohan Singh, the prime minister at the time, invited one and only one sports person to this state dinner, and it was the motherfucking chess player. Not a cricketer, which I know is big over there, but the Tiger of Madras.
And I am told by more than one person that I have met that there was a time when Anand was the most eligible bachelor in all of India.
Does he have a particular play style that he likes?
Yeah, it's a very solid play style. It's not very flashy. Sometimes you have very flashy players who make really kind of creative tactics, but he's a very patient, strategic player.
He's just a lunch pail guy, man. Shows up, he does his job.
He's a very flexible chess player, but one of the things that he built up a reputation for was his speed and his speed of calculating, about thinking about the future. And there's an anecdote that when he was 15 years old and still an international master, so a rank below grandmaster, he was playing a British grandmaster and completely wiped the floor with him. And by the end of the game, Anand had only used 10 minutes of his time, where this British grandmaster had used over 2 hours of his time. And this earned him the first of his titles, the Lightning Kid.
Hell yeah. Okay, so let's circle back, okay? Oh, actually, hold on, Del, sorry. Editor's note, we'll move this back, and I'll move it for you, Trinidad. I'll do the moving. We're gonna move this back to right after we were talking about chance in chess.
I mean, when are you gonna move if not in chess episode?
Del, I love that you took a swing, but that's clearly something that's not making it onto the final recording.
But I thought you were going to show people behind the curtain.
Yeah. My editor's note to myself is not something that the fucking listeners are going to hear.
Yeah, true. The issue here with that joke is that now we have to play the whole editor's note for them to include context.
Fuck it. It's our experimental gag episode.
Yeah, it's Pomo.
This podcasting move is called the Sicilian.
All right. What's your point?
On the topic of chance and chess, Del, since I know you know way more about chess than I do, people did try and incorporate chance into chess at one point, didn't they?
Yeah, chess has a long and really interesting history in Europe that started even in the medieval period. And there are so many different variants of the chess game that have existed over time. And some versions of that, like in pubs, for example, people would incorporate things like dice. And so they would roll dice and you would play a particular move based on the roll that you had. And of course, the connoisseurs of the game have been loath to accept any of this as valid, but there are still some vestiges of that exist today. In fact, there's this thing called Fischer random or chess 960, where you start from a random position. So all of your pawns are where they should be, but all of your other pieces are organized in a completely random order. And it's called chess 960 because there are 960 possible ways to do that organization. And so this is kind of a little bit of a holdover for that, but you still have to have the strategy involved. So yeah, there is a tradition of this.
So chess has been around for a while. When do we get modern chess?
Yeah, the early modern period, the 15th, 16th century, is when the rules as we know them start to be codified. Mm-hmm. So early chess in like the 14th, 15th centuries, it was very similar, but there were some differences. For example, the queen didn't have the quite same amount of range.
Ooh.
So the queen could move very similar to the way that the king can move today.
What?
But by giving the queen the power to move along any row or diagonal as far as she wanted, this really sped up the game. And so it was one of the strategies that was involved to turn it into a much quicker and much more tactically rich game.
What about the timing thing? Is that a relatively modern thing, or would they light like 2 candles and see?
Just burning your hand, tapping your candle.
Right, I forgot that you have to unlight it.
Yeah, that's really funny. I don't know actually the details of that, but I would guess that it is a 19th or 20th century invention.
Gotcha, because things have really ramped up, right? The computer finally beats a person in chess in 1997, which seems significant.
Well, chess computers got progressively better over the late 80s and into the 90s, and there were a pair of matches between Garry Kasparov and Deep Blue, the IBM computer, in 1994 and 1997, respectively. I mean, in 1994, Kasparov did quite well, but by 1997, he could no longer hold a candle to Deep Blue.
An apt metaphor.
Excellent callback. Yeah, imagine you are at the top of your fucking game. You're like the LeBron James of chess, and you drop your shit to a 1997 computer. There's fucking the dial-up screech going, and you lose to that.
I really think LeBron James is the Garry Kasparov of basketball.
Now that we've established the rules, I could ask, okay, so the thing about chess that I always wonder about is the meta, because if you play video games online, you understand that there's this thing, a meta, which is the best way to play a game right now based on current strategies. And it's usually because they release a new version, but chess, there's no new version. So how are they finding new strategies? It sounds like they're using computers and stuff like that.
Yeah, En Passant was the last DLC that got dropped. A real fucking game changer. Anyone who's familiar with chess memes will know that you always have to take the en passant when it's offered to you, even if it will result in you getting checkmated. You can't not do the en passant.
Rather than studying and practicing tactical positions, a lot of the top chess players now spend a great deal of time memorizing lines, so they're called. So you have a series of openings that are deemed the best possible opening. So E4, for example, or you moving your king's pawn into the middle of the board, right? And that's the beginning of an opening. And then there's this list of openings that then have various branches depending on what moves get played. And so a lot of the top chess players will memorize these lines really, really deep into the middle game. And into the middle game, that's when a lot of the more tactical strategies come out, the tactical flourishes come out, and you really have to know your positional play at that point. And so the meta often involves a lot of memorization of lines and the anticipation of certain trends in tactical play and strategic play that develop over time. So particular chess players might be particularly fond of the Sicilian opening, for example, and play those. But there really isn't an era of the meta like there was even in the early 20th century. So you have this sort of thing. There's this chess player, Tartakower, wrote this book on the hyper-modern style of chess, where you would use your pieces to control the center rather than moving your pawns into the center. This was really the last thing I can think of as kind of like an era of how to define a strategy by a kind of of era, but now a lot of it has to do more with what players are playing and if they're prepared for as many possible lines as they can be.
To my mind, that's so sad if you're just memorizing lines that a computer has optimized. And here I will link it back to what this podcast is about, which is the 2000s. We have this computer defeating a grandmaster in 1997, and now you're saying there's a lot of memorization of what a computer has decided is optimal. We have moneyballed fucking chess. And there's a book, actually, Del, you recommended it to me.
The Immortal Game.
The Immortal Game, where they said in the 19th century, if someone suggested a trade, so I lose my queen, you lose your queen, it was considered dishonorable and ungentlemanly to not accept a trade. There used to be a certain romance in the game of chess that, in the similar way to the romance of baseball that has been removed by analytics, because you know what the analytics tell you is the best way to play baseball? It actually isn't to try and get into the batter's head. The best thing, according to the computer, is to throw a fastball straight down the fucking plate every single time, and then you tap out your pitcher 8-9 times a game, whatever it is. I'm not a baseball fan. That is what the computer says is optimal. There's no mind games. There's no curveball. There's no like, oh, the batter's at bat for a third time. He's starting to get a feel for the pitcher in this.
Okay, well, I am a fan of baseball, and there is more to throwing a fastball than just throwing it fast.
And I'm sure it's not that bad in chess now, but imagine going from a world where you had to accept every trade to, I have memorized the code of the optimal strategy for this particular instance. A recurring theme of our 2000s spot, the algorithm in the computer ruins everything.
It hasn't gotten quite so bad in chess as it has, for example, in the game of checkers. So even So in 1863, there was a World Checkers Championship, and 40 out of 40 games of this championship match ended in a draw, and 21 out of those 40 games were the exact same game, same move order, everything. We have solved checkers.
Why play?
It's been solved. Yeah.
Well, you don't hear much about the World Checkers Championship these days, and that's why.
Del, most people don't hear a lot about the World Chess Championship.
Well, that's why we're here. We're doing the Lord's work.
Unless there's an anal beads related scandal.
True, yes.
But to go back to this question about the role that the computer plays in chess, yes, it can be really intense. And so maybe at the level beneath the top grandmaster level, a lot of the games are who has a better mastery over the tactics. But a lot of these grandmasters, they know these lines so well in and out. A lot of commentators on chess games will identify the moment when it is a new game. And by new game, it's a new game within the tournament databases. And this normally happens around a move 10 or move 15. Sometimes a little bit earlier, sometimes quite a bit later, depending on whether they're really popular lines. So there are some really popular lines, like the Sicilian Opening is a really popular. There's lots of really deep games. And so innovation in these games comes a little bit later, but there are some openings that sometimes you get a new move by move 4 or 5. And so even then, there are slight tactical variations. Maybe like one pawn is in a different place from a move that already existed. But for these top players, that is significant. And so what I find so interesting about this and why I really am convinced this is relevant to you and your listeners is because chess really shows the way in which human interaction on an international level is really mediated to a higher and higher degree by a really tightly controlled set of technological apparatuses that a lot of countries invest in because it gives them a little teeny bit of prestige. Say Norway has the world chess champion, or had, excuse me, now it's China.
Thanks, Joe Brandon.
And fun fact, Ding Liren, the current world chess champion, is the first male chess champion from China because we already had a female world chess champion from China for many years.
Interesting.
Has there been an American world chess champion, maybe?
Well, has there been an American world chess champion? Yes, there has been. Perhaps one of the most famous or infamous world chess players to exist, that is Bobby Fischer.
Nice, USA #1. Let's go. He learned how to play at Washington Square Park. I saw that movie.
Yeah, maybe he went to the chess forum where all the nerds play.
Woo, let's go.
Ben and I, fun fact, were just there this afternoon playing chess.
I don't want to talk about it. I got my shit rocked.
I heard you didn't even get a pawn.
So fuck off. No. Yeah. Let's talk about Bobby Fischer for a second. Al from Brooklyn, who's appeared on several episodes, he's somewhere.
He's disappeared.
He's disappeared. He was around.
I think he went into the bathroom.
Coming out soon.
I told you, this is our most experimental episode. You're going to hear cooking and cleaning in the background. Al from Brooklyn called this guy QAnon before QAnon.
QAnon?
What, sorry?
QAnon? Never mind.
I don't get it.
Oh, I see.
Because P is before Q, and you were talking about...
Man.
You were talking about bodily functions.
God damn it.
Yeah, so what, Bobby Fischer, what's his deal? He's like Michael Jordan, kind of. Maybe he's a little rough around the edges. He's rude, but...
You hybridize Jordan and Rodman.
He's rude, but people respect him because he's just so damn good. Like a Dr. House player, but for chess.
Yeah, and good on a level that it's really hard to comprehend. When Bobby Fischer was at his peak in the 60s, he was really indomitable. He was leagues above the rest of the chess world. And he entered the candidates tournament in 1971 for the person who could challenge the world chess champion. So that's how it works. And in 1 year, you have a candidates tournament from the top players who get to compete to be the candidate who challenges the world chess champion. And then the next year, they have that tournament. And so in 1972, Bobby Fischer was the champion contender and defeated the world chess champion at the time, who was Russian, as a generation of Russian grandmasters, becoming the first American world chess champion, and really sort of set the chess world on fire in a way that was really exploited by the American government.
The Summit Series of chess.
That's a joke for our Canadian listeners. Americans probably don't even know what a Summit Series is.
He's an American patriot.
Well.
Was he like Pat Tillman? Did he sign up for the military after 9/11?
No.
He's got some takes on 9/11, let me tell you.
In fact, just like any good chess player has played a game or two with the rooks, he had a lot to say about the two towers.
What are his views? What does he think went down?
Well, I think you have a quote for this, Ben.
Here are some of Bobby Fischer's quotes on 9/11. Bobby Fischer, he made the following statements. Within hours of the 9/11 attacks, Bobby Fischer, a native New Yorker, called a small Filipino radio station. Why? And in a live interview made the following statements, and I quote, "This is all wonderful news. It is time to finish off the U.S. once and for all."
Jesus Christ.
I was happy and could not believe what was happening. All crimes the U.S. has committed in the world. This just shows what goes around comes around, even to the U.S. I applaud the act. The U.S. and Israel have been slaughtering the Palestinians for years. Now it's coming back to the U.S. That one's actually, oh, interesting. We love the Palestinians. And here, and I would remind all the listeners that Bobby Fischer is the child of Polish Jews. Fischer added that Israel and Jews, in quotation marks or triple parentheses, had brought on the World Trade Center attacks. He called this particular radio station because he was living in Baguio City, Philippines.
And it's worth saying why Fischer was in the Philippines in the first place. So he won the 1972 World Chess Championship, and he was slated to compete again in 1975. But in the run-up to that championship competition against Anatoly Karpov, Fischer made a series of demands on FIDE, the World Chess Organization, about how that game was supposed to play out. And FIDE really didn't want to acquiesce to what he was saying, and so he forfeited the title, and from there he sort of disappeared for 20 years. But he comes back in 1992 during the American involvement in Bosnia and challenged Boris Spassky, the sort of former Russian grandmaster. And
nice. This is the Summit Series?
To a revenge match. And
let's go.
He actually went and competed in this match in Budapest.
So, I mean, like, with this rematch, it is like some Drago shit.
Yeah, the Rocky IV of the chess world. He's wrapped in the American flag after he checkmates his opponent.
He's wrapped in the American flag. He checkmates his opponent. They put a mic in his face, and it's just the worst Der Stürmer anti-Semitism you've ever heard in your life. Instead of Sylvester Stallone talking about, like, why can't we all get along, like the end of Rocky IV, it's just Nazism.
Yeah, he'd also burn the flag. I don't think he'd be very happy about it. He was a fan of 9/11. He was a big Bishop into rook move.
Yeah, if you think that we're exaggerating, now I am once again literally reading Fischer's Wikipedia. This man did Holocaust denial openly, and he called the United States, and I quote, a farce controlled by dirty, hook-nosed, circumcised... Please, God, don't clip that. No, that's Barbara Streisand effect. You're absolutely going to clip that.
Guys, clip it. Share it with your friends. Like it. Subscribe to it. Do the opposite.
Yeah, he described himself as a victim of an international Jewish conspiracy when he called into Budapest. Very funny that he went to Budapest, given what's going on there now. Some things never change. There's nothing new under the sun. That's from Ecclesiastes, a book of the Jewish Bible, which he probably wouldn't be a fan of, I guess.
I don't think there are so many theist chess players, it sounds like. I don't know if they're like football players, and they're like, I just want to give a shout out to Jesus. Sounds like they're fairly agnostic or atheist group.
Maybe they're just thanking them for randomly drawing white. I want to read one last thing about Bobby Fischer's political views. When he died
in 2009.
So people judged his library, which is like, this is a big anxiety of mine because I don't reject any knowledge. I have multiple Bibles on my shelf. I got books of Mormons on my shelf. I got shit that, like, you got to understand the other side. But they judged Bobby Fischer's library because it contained anti-Semitic and racist literature. So he had a Mein Kampf, he had a Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and The White Man's Bible, one I haven't heard of, and Nature's Eternal Religion. I don't know what that one is either, but you might say, hey, it's not a crime to read racist books. Maybe he needs to understand his enemy. But they also had a notebook journal written by Fischer that contained statements such as 12/13/99, quote, it's time to start randomly killing Jews.
God damn, my
God.
Jesus Christ.
There's not a whole lot of interpretive wiggle room there for you.
He basically did Kanye West on Alex Jones.
I mean, he's so much more anti-Semitic. He might be the most anti-Semitic person. I guess he's not alive anymore. He doesn't have ever, but he certainly maybe in 1997 or 2009 when he died.
I love how you were like, is he the anti-Semitism goat? Oh, wait, no.
No.
I mean, I don't know if it's relevant, but he was also very misogynistic.
Jeez, what a piece. This is our American hero. Who named this movie after him at his studio? Did they look into his views at all?
Searching for Bobby Fischer, the inspiring story of childhood and growth and being good at chess. But let's not search for Bobby Fischer. Let's leave Bobby Fischer lost.
I think the New York Times in his obit called him a troubled genius.
Oh, man, they're going to do that to Kanye, too, aren't they?
I was thinking kind of a bracket. It might just be helpful to briefly recap chess events in the 2000s, because that's sort of what it should start from, and maybe that can give us a frame for sort of thinking about the thesis of what I'm trying to say, which is that chess is really important for understanding what happens in the 2000s. And so in 1997, you have Garry Kasparov lose really resoundingly to Deep Blue. In 2000, Kasparov ends his 15-year reign atop the World Chess Championship rankings and is replaced by his adversary Kramnik. And Kramnik and others share a divided stage. So there are at this time two different World Chess Championships, the FIDE World Champion and the Classical Chess Championship. And this initial split happened because Garry Kasparov created his own World Chess Championship because he didn't like that FIDE, in his words, wasn't raising enough money for the sake of global chess. And so this divided house existed until 2006 when it was reunited under Kramnik again. And then in 2007, and that's when you have the Indian chess player Viswanathan, who took the reunified undisputed position as FIDE World Chess Championship. And he held that until 2012 when Magnus Carlsen defeated him. And so this creates a through line from the past and present. And through this, these chess players are coming increasingly to use the technology of the different computers that existed and engaging in their intercultural and international dynamics as, I think, a really interesting tableau that sort of reflects history, technology, politics.
As in our 2000 election episode and many others, we're finding over and over again that this decade is a very interesting time when it comes to technology's effect on culture, politics, everything. Who makes some of the best chess computers in the world?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, IBM made Deep Blue, but I'm not actually sure who made...
Well, you guys were describing sort of a chess for battle bots situation where there's a certain computer program that uses a lot of randomized fuzzy numbers to win.
Yeah. What chess computers are really doing at a high level, kind of from 2003 onwards, is if you look at a system like Sabermetrics and the Oakland A's and kind of Moneyball, the classic example in the 2000s, when you've got a system of analytics, everyone's chasing that same smaller finite number of results. The most advanced chess computers can find that and basically throw another wrench in the game. So it's almost like, okay, this is the hooping error in the paint. Let me invent a Steph Curry mid-game is kind of what these advanced chess computers functionally do.
That's what it seems cool to me about computers playing chess is having their own higher order strategies, like throwing a wrench into
It's a metacognition, right? The computer can adjust and engage in metacognition within the game. So that's very material.
Yeah, okay. I think that's everything we have.
There was a couple of suggestions I have for chess, actually.
Yeah, hit me.
Namely, one, I don't like that you both have to start with the same pieces. It should at least work like a Warhammer point system, in which, you're given 2,000 points, and maybe a pawn is worth 25, and a bishop is worth 80. And a queen, that's 200 points.
Yeah, whatever. We'll tweak the numbers, but I'm going an all queen army.
You'd only have like maybe 4.
Yeah, but they can go anywhere.
Okay, so you're taking 4 queens and 1 king against Dell's normal chess set.
I don't have a lot of trading opportunities.
Anyway, it would be interesting to see the meta evolve with the point system, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's time for a little DLC upgrade of the beautiful game of
chess 2.
Yeah. This time it's personal.
Yeah. Chess 40K.
Chess 2 Revenge of Black. Listen, we got generated controversy, okay? We're going to call it Chess 2 Revenge of Black. And we're going to wait for Fox News to talk about how chess has gone woke.
I really think it's high time that we have another existential crisis in chess, because currently, right now, it's young male loneliness.
I would love to see what the computers, I'm sure, what strategy they would have with chess 2. Maybe they'd go with 30 pawns.
Ooh, interesting.
What's the fastball down the middle, like in Sabermetrics that you were saying? Did you guys hear about that? A college had a competition to see who could build the best poker machine. And this guy who didn't do computer science won because he wrote the simplest program, which is anytime a bet is offered, go all in. And it beat everybody in the college's poker competition because it was the wrench that we were talking about from that previous program. It's just like, you want to completely throw them off? Send the queen immediately at the king.
Hell yeah. Is there anything else we want to hit?
I think we should get some Bobby Fischer quotes about women.
Well, he did this interview where he was asked about women chess players, and he's just like, well, they're just not very good.
He's doing John McEnroe before it was a Gawker controversy, folks. Visionary posting shit.
I mean, his whole thing was seeing into the future. Maybe that's the reason why he was good at chess, because he actually could see the future.
For any real chess heads out there is a controversy around... I don't know the details. This is one of those please don't yell at me moments. There is a controversy around trans people in chess. You know that like bullshit trans swimmer stuff? Yeah. That's happening now.
This is so interesting, and I think it's important to give a little background for the seeming gender segregation in chess. And so in a lot of chess tournaments, there is a women's section and an open section. So women can play in the open section. There's not really any sort of men's only chess tournaments. And the reason why that is because there's a really small percentage of chess players, something like right now 15% of chess players on the professional level are women, which is the highest it's ever been. So this is sort of the background. And so right now, FIDE passed a rule that says that trans women can't play in the women's section. And this is a really clear example of simultaneous transphobia and misogyny, because if the reason why you think that trans women can't play in the women's league is that they're not actual women, then you're saying that you think there is some sort of biological difference that makes cis men better at chess players than women.
It's the lack of prostate stimulation. You got to put that vibrating egg in your anus.
Yeah, that was one of the funnier controversies that was in the news with chess, right? Magnus Carlsen, he went up against the bad boy of chess. Is that right?
Magnus is the bad boy of chess, yeah.
Magnus is the bad boy. I thought the guy who had the stuff in his ass was the bad boy of chess.
No. First off, allegedly had stuff up his ass.
Well, so in short, there was an over over the board cheating allegation against the sort of rising star 18-year-old Hans Niemann when Magnus Carlsen felt like he was somehow cheating in over the board chess, which would really be hard to do because you have to go through all kinds of screening to get into the room. You can't have your phone. You can't even wear a watch because maybe the watch has secret codes in it. And so it's really hard to know how he could possibly have cheated. And so one of the theories that was floated is maybe he had some kind of electronic anal beads that were connected to some kind of computer that were sending him targeted messages. So that's why it's the only possible explanation. And it was said once and then it caught fire on the interwebs and here we are.
Yeah, these chess guys, they're real innovators. Like anal Morse code was not on my bingo card for 2024, but it's a fucking brave new world, gentlemen.
Yeah. I heard that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady used to do that.
and I think it's important for you, sort of the maestros of the pod, to have it on the record that this is alleged. There was a lawsuit that was rooted in this that I think came to a settlement. So it's all just allegations that are sort of floated around on the internet. There's nothing
There's no way to know, right? It's Schrodinger's anal bead. We didn't check them, right? Yep. Nobody probed them. It's already been done.
There are really funny videos now of people's rear ends being carefully metal detector
wanded. Yeah.
Yep. Well, much like the airport changed after 9/11, the chess tournament has as well, with security measures up the ass.
Before we record our wrap up, I want one last thing. There's one thing we didn't hit on the outline. Okay, talk about this WWE WWF ship, the schism. Talk about the schism. We haven't talked about the schism, gang.
One of the interesting things about the 2000s in sports, and you see this in boxing, I think the WWE WWF merger, which happens in the 90s, but you basically have this WrestleMania universe that's kind of like a consolidation, and there's a bit of taking your ball and going home, people starting their own federations. That's a trend in the 2000s, right? Where there's like a consolidation, someone fucks off. And I think this sets us up for something that chess encapsulates quite well with vertical integration, where one of the goats has to take his ball and go home.
Yeah, well, I had already mentioned that there was this schism in the 1990s where Garry Kasparov was not...
he took his ball and went home.
Yeah, exactly. And he created this whole new anti-pope of the chess world. He's the anti-champion.
My other queen is in Avignon.
And this existed until he stepped down from this position in 2000. And I think it's a really interesting example because before that, there was this tradition of world chess champions that goes all the way back to Steinitz in the early 20th century. And so this really kind of august tradition. And I think it says something about the durability of chess as a cultural phenomenon that this was even possible in the first place, because people would be like, the kids are fighting again. The nerds in the chess club are arguing about who's best. But no, it said something about the cultural staying power of chess. And I think it was only possible with Garry Kasparov, who became kind of a celebrity internationally. And I think that this has something to do with the wake of Bobby Fischer and the celebrity that garnered him. And it came really at this interesting time of the contest between the U.S. and the Cold War in its wake. And we see even today, Garry Kasparov has been engaged in political dissonance against Putin and even created an organization that was designed to speak out against Putin. And so you have all these examples of the politics of chess existing within a broader sort of political world that I think says a lot about the importance of a game of 64 squares in the world and the way we can find ways to make meaning out of things that don't inherently have any of it.
And to bring it all back to how you opened the show for us, Del, that tournament that the Tiger of Madras won, that was the first tournament when they all got back together?
It was the second one.
The second one, okay.
Kramnik won in 2006, but in 2007 there was this tournament and he didn't defend his title. And so Anand won this tournament and became the champion. So it was the second year, but still it was just getting started going again. And you can imagine a world in which Kramnik's lack of participation, his stubbornness would have created a further rift there. But we had Anand who was able to stay championship for, I think, 5 years after this. And this created the kind of stability that was needed in the chess world to create something like a Magnus Carlsen. And interesting, today we're starting to see a little bit of this friction as well, because Magnus Carlsen stepped down and also forfeited his title after 5 years, or after winning 5 championships in a row.
Dude, I can't wait for that fucking Norwegian, Viking, caveman-ass looking motherfucker to lose his mind. This guy gets blackout drunk. This is why I said he's the bad boy of the chess world. This guy gets blackout drunk and live streams on Instagram, beating people on chess.com while like not being able to speak. He's so fucked up.
So I cranked up and followed her to the floor. She cranked and said, I said, yeah. Oh boy. What the fuck is happening to my body or my internet connection?
Nice.
Oh, GG. There we go.
Wow. I can't wait for his blackpilling.
He seems on the saner end of the spectrum to me as far as chess players go.
All right, so that's been the most experimental episode of Remember Shuffle yet. An episode that was conceived and recorded in the span of 6 hours. Huge thank you to Dell, without whom this episode absolutely would not exist.
Yeah.
And yeah, as I always say, please like, please subscribe. Don't share this episode with any of your friends. This is not the best episode to start them on. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, do all that shit.
Yeah.
Once I make my move, the queen will take me. Then you're free to check the king.
No. Ron, no!
What is it?